The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Ambar Garcia, Brian Broaddus, Nick Harris, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Thursday, September 5th, 2024, Season 20, Episode number 23. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by LG. LG is the world's #1 OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. See why at LG.com/OLED Evo. It is moving closer and closer to the beginning of the NFL season. Actually, the NFL kicks off tonight. First game of the season, Chiefs, Ravens, should be fun. We'll get you ready for Cowboys, Browns. That's what we're going to spend the most of this show doing. But I think maybe toward the end of the show, we'll see if we get some picks on the game for tonight, see what you guys think about what's happening around the NFL.
For tonight.
Wait.
Xavier Worthy, anytime
No, I
touchdown.
know what you're thinking. You were thinking, I got to host the show tomorrow. Why are you taking things that I'm going to use tomorrow? Yeah, no, I'm not
you
doing
got to
that.
give us your pick, though, for Cowboys versus Browns.
You want me to make it now?
Go ahead.
Cowboys.
Score?
Cowboys by 3. Give me 17-14.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
It's
you were
very
s-
close to mine.
You were 17-13 on the radio
Yes,
this
I
morning.
was.
You
Yes,
were
I
what
was.
on the
Did
radio?
a good job, by
Yep,
the way, on the
thank
radio.
you. I
Wait, what were you
appreciate
on the
that.
radio?
17-13 Cowboys.
17-13.
Yep.
Yeah. Actually, that's better than 17-14. Can I change mine to 17-13?
Okay. If you don't call me and
Biter.
Wow.
Go
No,
ahead.
but
Yeah.
we're not gonna get too far into that. But yes, that's my belief. I believe the Cowboys win. But I actually think we're gonna get into today this Cleveland defense. This ain't no joke. Like, this is going to be a game. This is going to be a tough one. But I also think it's strength versus strength. And that's what we'll spend a lot of time talking about today as we talk about that matchup between the Cowboys offense and the Browns defense. Let's start right now, though, with a couple injuries. Cowboys have only one on the injury report that did
I
not
have to
practice.
keep scrolling for their practice report.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it keeps
There's
going
some
and going.
names over there. But let's start with the Cowboys' one person, John Stevens. He did not practice with a hamstring injury. I guess my question is, how serious is this? And then we'll talk about maybe what the chances are if he doesn't play. What does it look like for the Cowboys?
Yeah, I think I think this is something to definitely keep an eye on going into the week. As it sounds right now, when talking to some people, this is an injury that could keep him out on Sunday. They're going to try to ramp him in and try to get him involved as Thursday, Friday, and then that Saturday walkthrough gets going. But John Stevens, that's probably the only question mark you have going into the week. Now, if he can't go, you still have guys like Princeton Fant on the practice squad that if you want to elevate for special teams purposes or to be involved with that tight end room, you could. You also have Hunter Lipke, who's taken a lot more tight end reps during training camp. He could step into a role like that, but it would definitely take away a receiving option for Dak Prescott if John Stevens is not able to go. Did you want to touch on the Browns as well?
We're going to get to that.
Okay,
I wanted to first talk a little bit about Stevens and maybe what this means. Brian, Amber, what do you guys think this means for the team if they can't have him out there? Because I think we all agree he really is tight end 2 on this team.
Yeah.
What does this mean for them?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Tight end 2 is where I would put John Stevens. And I think John Stevens is a backside tight end. If you go 12 personnel, there are things he could do on the back end athletically to help you in the running game. Because sometimes these cuts do make where we've seen him go off really that guards block, the center guard combination block, tackle. It doesn't really bounce the outside. It kind of starts outside and then works to the middle or through the middle. That's where they seem to pop some of these runs. But on the backside, if you're in 12 personnel, you have to have a tight end that's athletic enough to be able. You're probably going to play with like the Schoonmaker, maybe even, I don't know how much you want to put Ferguson at the point of attack. But there you are. And so you need that backside guy to be able to be an athlete. And the length that Stevens has, we haven't really seen it, much from either with Span Ford. I know we talked about him and could he be a guy that's inactive, but he's clearly into the mix now. There's another rookie that's going to get an opportunity. You mentioned all the rookies that, are potentially going to start in this game. Well, here's another one. If Stevens can't go, then you're probably looking at Span Ford maybe getting some opportunities to do some backside blocking, maybe some point of attack blocking. But that also takes a vertical player. The one thing that the Browns will do, and we'll get into this, the secondary. Well, you want to. It's the corners are good. There's quality at the nickel. There's quality on both sides. The safeties, can you take advantage of some of their safety coverage, and their linebacker coverage? And that's where I think Stevens could be sneaky in this game, and you might miss him there.
Yeah.
Typically, I wouldn't be too concerned about someone like him missing, or someone at the tight end position missing. But this game, it's key because in my mind, you're having to rely on a tight end to help block, just like Brian said, in many situations, especially considering that you're going to have potentially these two rookie guys starting in the line. You got Cooper Beebe and then Tyler Guyton, and you want to be able to bring whatever extra help you can, at least in these first couple of weeks. So that's going to be a challenge in that sense that at least me, we were thinking that a guy like him, especially in the blocking game, because obviously you got other guys that can catch the ball. Oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? The starter. Ferguson, Jesus Christ. Here we go. But Jake, yeah. Oh, stop it. Here we go.
Look, I'm speaking from experience. Let me just say, I'm speaking from experience.
Okay, that's one.
All right,
that's
sorry.
one for you.
All right, I'm gonna step back.
No, but Jake Ferguson, he's great catching the ball and all of that. But I do think sometimes in the blocking game, he wouldn't necessarily be the guy that I would relying on blocking, but also maybe with Zeke being here, but then you also want to take advantage of the running game, but also, I don't know, like looking at Zeke to potentially be a guy that could be utilized a little bit more to help block.
Yeah, you make a great point about that. We could also think about Hunter Lipke, your guy.
As well.
That's if you need somebody to play as that wing, or I don't know how much you want to put him in line next to the tackle there.
Put him anywhere.
Hunter Lipke for president for sure. But the thing with they have options. I just want to say though that Stevens was making so much progress. Probably not as good as what he was before the injury. But, man, you could see the play that I know was a fumble, but the ball down the field, you could see the arc release up the seam, ball there. Now he's running. Yeah. That's the kind of things you get. You're going to need some guys some chunk plays in this game if you can pull them off. They're probably going to be few and far between, but if you get an opportunity, you never know who's. We always talk about the X factor players. Who do you not talking about that? Stevens could have been one of those guys for me. If you'd asked the question, give me an X factor player for this game. I'm gonna say this Stevens kid at tight end. You got to, if they're going to run, move the pocket, boots, waggle, stuff like that, downfield player. This guy might make 2 or 3 catches that could be difference maker catches.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily that Jake Ferguson cannot do those same things.
Right.
It's more so just having that multiple option.
If you want to go 12 personnel to maybe handle some of the blocking stuff that they're going to have to deal with.
Yep. It's disappointing for me is that we had that whole conversation about how they handle the potential of him not being in there, and nobody mentioned Schoonmaker, the second-round pick from last year.
I was just thinking about him because that's one of the things that we talked about him when the Cowboys drafted him was his blocking abilities.
Yeah, that's you'd love to have one of these games where we get together on Monday and we talk about this and we've all watched the tape and you're like, damn, that 86 had a really good game blocking. And there's just that. It's almost like playing these rookies. It's with Schoonmaker, it's like you're playing a rookie because you don't really know if. Okay, there have been some improvements. Then there's some times where it doesn't even look like the same player, and that's the problem. That that the fact that losing Stevens could hurt you to the point where, well, damn, Schoonmaker's got to play more. And now
instead of it being like, okay, we get to see a little more.
Instead we can maybe Stevens and then some Schoonmaker.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, no, we're gonna need Schoonmaker to play, and I'm the president of the Schoonmaker fan club, but I have yet to see those games that I watched when he was playing Michigan State and Ohio State and those types of games where you just like, man, this guy was a dominant player that way. And he made plays in the passing game as well. And it's just been a little bit of a struggle there.
Yeah, it could be a big opportunity for him. Sunday.
It could be.
Right.
It could be.
Right. And that's what you would hope is that in his second year, if he gets this opportunity and we think he's going to play, he would play significant because I do think they're going to have to use 2 tight ends quite a bit. it might be an opportunity for him to step up and kind of show a little bit of what maybe he didn't have as much opportunity to show last year. Let's flip to the other side and talk about the Browns. There are two names particularly I want to talk about. Yep. Their tackles, Jedrick Wills Jr., who's his left tackle, Jack Conklin, who's their right tackle, both coming off ACL injuries in 2023. One of them happened in Week 9, so it was a little later in the year. The other was in Week 1. So my question for you guys are, I guess first, before we get to them coming back from injury, before the injuries, were these the types of tackles that would have given you pause when you talk about matching up against the defensive ends for the Cowboys? And then now coming back, what are your expectations for them in their first games back from ACL injuries?
Yeah, and looking at Jack Conklin coming off of the ACL injury that he suffered in Week 1 last year, it's going to be a challenge for him. On the right side, he's probably going to have a lot of matchups with DeMarcus Lawrence. The thing I'm looking at is this left side. What are they going to do on the left side? Yeah. Jedrick Wills comes out in the locker room yesterday and says he's not starting the game on Sunday. So who do they put at left tackle? Do they swing Jack Conklin over, or do they bring over a guy in James Hudson, who's kind of been their swing tackle? He's kind of their version of Awesome Richards. A little bit bigger, though, and he is a true swing tackle.
And just
he
to be
goes
clear,
right to left.
This is going to be whoever's going to primarily get to see a lot of Micah Parsons.
Exactly. And this would be who gets to see Micah Parsons. This is why I feel like I think this is a 3+ sack game for this defensive line. I feel confident in it just because this offensive line, we're sitting here. Yeah, probably. We're sitting here Thursday and they're still playing musical chairs with this offensive line. I mean, you could call back to last year when Tyler Smith got hurt. I think it was last year whenever he had that hamstring injury. They figured it out by Thursday. Here we are on Thursday. They haven't figured it out. Or if they have figured it out, they're keeping it hush. So I think this is definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. Jedrick Wills might not be ready coming off of that injury. Yeah. They might not want to rush him back onto the field. But he says yesterday that he's not starting at left tackle. So it's going to be a guy who probably can't match up with Micah Parsons to the level of a healthy Jedrick Wills. So it's going to be an interesting start. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, if you go back and you actually watch the Houston playoff game, James Hudson started at right tackle is what he did in this game. So, Nick's right. They're trying to kind of figure out, DeJuan Jones had also played quite a bit last year. I mean, you start to see him. You get into like the first couple games of the season, all of a sudden they're using backup offensive linemen, and so the questions are there. The health of the tackles was questions coming in. It's even now, I think, a bigger questions because they're going with potentially 2 backup offensive tackles. We know it doesn't sound like Wills is going to play. I mean, he came out and said, I don't think, it's just, he's just trying to get through the practices is what he's talking about. So if that's the case, I still feel like, though, like we talked about yesterday with Posick and Teller, the center and the right guard, I just kind of feel like that those are 2 attack points as well. Micah even talked about, I know you guys had a chance to visit with him yesterday, and he was talking about that Mike Zimmer playing in more 2-eye, 3-eye inside stuff instead of playing that 6 technique, which is outside the tackle. So that tells me that Mike's got a plan that he's going to try and maybe attack a little bit more in the middle with Mike and maybe not have the hand in the ground as much as he's had in the past, where teams have been able just to slide to him. Yeah. When you stand him up in the middle, it's hard to chip him. And it's hard to double him, especially the way Mike covers those linemen, and he's going to make a lot of single blocks there.
Over under 4.5 alignments we see Micah Parsons in on Sunday.
I'll take the over on that.
You'll take the over on that? Yeah, I think I will too. I think that he's going to be moved around quite a bit. I think he's going to be off ball. I think he's going to come inside with 2-3, 2-3-eye type work, 6 tech, wide 9. You're going to see him everywhere.
I think that I think this is the part of football that Micah Parsons really likes. Yeah. Micah Parsons, I don't think wants to play one position. We always see him like messing around. He's like running routes or he's running with the football like he's a running back. He's always wanting to do something else. And I think Zimmer realizes that he has a guy that he can move around. And Mike is really good at hunting those matchups. All you need is somebody, and we'll get into Myles Garrett here when we do this Browns defense because he'll line up in a bunch of different spots too. So if you were to watch Browns tape and say, man, this is kind of what I envision Micah Parsons being like, that would be the template that I would think about.
Yeah, if you look at Micah's personality, I think it all fits. Like, he just seems like the kind of person that's an eclectic guy that just likes to do a lot of different things.
He is not interested in sitting there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that probably plays itself out on the field as well. I think you get the most out of him if you keep him engaged and keep him excited about it by doing a lot of different things with him and allow him to kind of move around and do different things. So I think it's a great chess piece for Mike Zimmer to use, and we'll see how he uses it starting this weekend.
You know, to kind of finish up on these tackles, and if you're one of those guys and gals that believe in metrics and all the numbers and stuff, pressure rates and things like that, Hudson, 10% of his dropbacks are pressures, and then Jones on the out is at 8%. So there's a couple of guys right there that, you can see if you're going to have opportunity. It's not like they're going to shut anybody out. They're going to give up some pressures when they're playing.
All right, we're going to take
one last thing to point out about the Browns injury report. 3 interior defensive linemen limited yesterday. Maurice Hurst with a hamstring, Quentin Jefferson with an Achilles, and Dalvin Tomlinson, he starts in the middle for them. He was limited with a knee injury. So those are 3 guys to keep an eye on. If 1 or 2 of those guys miss, that'd be huge for Cooper Beebe in that running game.
All right, we're going to take our first break. We'll come back. We'll dive into the Cowboys offense versus the Cleveland defense. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly, and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
Life doesn't stop when the economy is uncertain. The market might not care you have a wedding to plan or a kid to put through school. And inflation doesn't know you've got a family to feed. But Bank of America does, and is here to help. With digital tools to help you save and local experts nearby, you can keep life moving forward the way you need it to. Bank of America. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC, equal credit opportunity lender.
Back to the break.
LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take our word for it. Digital Trends said the LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See it for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break. We are live here from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Start, presented by LG. And this segment is brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, let's jump in, Brian. Dallas offense versus Cleveland defense. I think we have to start with Myles Garrett because he is that defense. I think everything starts with him and kind of rolls however he rolls. One stat I noticed initially was that he had the second most quick pressures in 2023 in the NFL, second in average time to pressure with 2.3 0.2 seconds on average.
I think Micah
that he gets
Parsons
to
right behind him. Yeah.
Micah was number 1 in quick pressures, but number 3 in timed pressure. But again, Dak has 2.3 seconds in order to get the ball off, as do all the other quarterbacks that face Myles Garrett. Talk to me about Myles Garrett and particularly how you see him matching up against this offensive line.
You must be reading my notes. I said the first right off the jump, I said this Browns defense isn't about Myles Garrett on the edge, but that's where we'll need to start.
Yeah.
The Browns they had 49 sacks in 2023, which was the 6th best in the National Football League. Garrett accounted for 14 of them. And in those 14 sacks he forced 4 fumbles. And one of them, I was watching the Indianapolis game. I don't know, Nick, if you got to see that one. They get Gardner Minshew down in the end zone, and he just blows by the tackle and balls in the air, and now it's a touchdown. So, that's what you're going to kind of get. The closer you get down in your own red zone and, you're defending or you're trying to get out, and you got to just be aware of Myles Garrett coming around the corner and blasting you and the ball going in the air and then, resulting in a touchdown. That might be a way they need to score some points. But of the 49 sacks, I just kind of went through and I looked at every single sack that the Browns had, because I was curious where he lines up in the 49 of the sacks. 25 of those snaps, he was at right end. 10 snaps, he was at left end. And then 3 of those sacks, he was over the center. So you're kind of thinking like, okay, where do you think it's, they're going to hunt matchups with him. And I heard you on the radio, and I think you made a really good point about maybe even a better matchup with all the help that Guyton is going to get. Or maybe the thought about, okay, we got to slide to the rookie, rookie, still will be okay. We could see Jim Schwartz put him on the other side. I like what
that was
you
just
said.
a point from you. I agree.
I'm glad you said that, because in talking to people who know Jim Schwartz is going to hunt the matchups. And he realizes where that potentially down. Steele is looking better. He's looking healthier. He's moving around better. There's still some issues that he deals with that Myles Garrett gives you problems with, his ability to play. That first step, I've yet to see an edge, and we've seen some great ones that gain as much ground as he does. And you mentioned about the get off time and the quick stuff that he's able to do. He gains so much ground with that first step that it puts the tackles or the blockers in a really bad position. And so, he's on that blocker before they even have a chance to get out of their stance. There were a couple of times where I'm watching him rush in the Jacksonville game, and the Jacksonville's tackle, he's off the ball, and Jacksonville's tackle didn't even set. It's like both feet are together, and he can't even move because Myles Garrett is past him already, that type. So, it's going to be imperative that these Cowboys offensive linemen get out of their stance because of how quickly he can get on you with that first step. But he's excellent at making himself small for a big, tall guy. He doesn't give you much hitting surface. And now we're talking about chips and double teams and how do you handle them. And all of a sudden, here's this big, tall guy, and he's playing sideways, and he's running sideways, and now he's around the corner, and your chip guy is kind of missing, and now it's the tackle's trying to get his hands to stop him from getting up the field. And that's the problem. He's just not going to give you a lot of hitting surface. That's why he's a rare player when you watch him play. And so it's going to be tough. I mean, and Nick, you made an excellent point again about Guyton and hands. This is going to be, if Guyton is struggling with his hands in this game, and we'll all be able to tell. You guys will be in the press box. I'll be at the studio. We watch it. And if they show the replay, and all of a sudden those hands are going wide, and Myles Garrett is getting into his body, that is going to be a problem for him. So hands, footwork, all that stuff's going to be key to try and stop this guy.
Ironically, that's going to be a two-pronged problem for him if those hands are bad because, number one, he's going to get into his chest, which is not a good place to have Myles Garrett be. But number two, it opens up the holding calls, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So all the way around, it's going to be bad for him if what we've seen, which is he is inconsistent with his hand placement, that could be a real problem for him this week.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think it's really important. We've talked about it a little bit throughout training camp. Is just when do those wide hands come to bite them? They haven't really bit him yet. There have been situations where DeMarcus Lawrence has gone up against him one-on-one, and he throws that power in front.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, Rook, get those hands in.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be a situation where he learns that probably sooner rather than later. The thing with me, and I want to bounce off your point about how quick he is off the ball, to be 272 pounds, he has some of the quickest first steps I've ever seen. And that's going to make it really difficult for a guy like Jake Ferguson or Luke Schoonmaker, who's trying to give Tyler Guyton help on the outside, trying to chip. I mean, by the time that they kind of get over and chip, he's around. I mean, that's how quick his first step is, and I think that's what he's been taught from his time at A&M. You saw that coming out of the draft process. That's why he's the number 1 overall pick. It's because he's able to get off the ball so quick at 272 pounds.
I have two things I want to throw at you that are kind of juxtaposed, and then I want to hear from you on how you analyze it and what you think actually happened. So the first one is last year Cleveland allowed the lowest completion percentage in the NFL at 45.8% completion when in man coverage.
Right.
Very, very good, obviously. Dak, on the flip side of that, had the highest completion percentage in the NFL at 66% against man.
Yeah.
Here's the second one. Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson, all top 5 in the NFL in coverage success rate with at least 40 targets, all 3 of them.
Yeah.
CD, on the flip side, led the NFL in receptions at 49 and in yards at 794 yards against man.
Something's got to give.
What's going to give? Like we talk about strength against strength, what gives?
What gives is the fact that on early downs, you are going to get them to play man coverage. So what you have to think about is, okay, if somehow Dallas can find a way to run the football and be successful. We were talking about 100 yards. I think you said, hey, if you could find a way to get 100 yards out of this game, would that be enough to kind of try and balance some things you want to do? I think you've got to make hay against these guys when it turns into, okay, you don't want to be in a lot of long yardage situation, but Jim Schwartz in later downs will play more zone. And so that's where, if all of a sudden, if you can weather the storm on the early downs when they're playing a lot of tight man coverage, and say you're able to win those, and he's banking on trying to get you behind the sticks is what he's banking on doing, and then he knows he's got a pass rush with Smith and Okawamuru and those guys like that to be able to maybe make some things happen up front. So his whole idea is, you have to find a way to win early downs, especially when they're playing man coverage. And early down wins might be running the football, and it also might be, what kind of screen packages can you throw? What kind of misdirections? If they're corners, they're very talented, as you said. Now find a way to take advantage of Ferguson and others and maybe Cooks on the boots, the waggles, the misdirection stuff where you're sending them in one direction and now you've got open guys to throw. Don't challenge these corners on early downs. You might want to challenge them in later downs when they're playing more zone.
The bright side is you have 2 guys in CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks that are man beaters in my eyes. I think quick game is going to be the name of the game here. Try to get the ball in their hands as quick as possible because that not only benefits the offensive line when you have 2 rookies up front that are trying to block this really experienced front, but that also benefits it on the back end in the secondary, trying to play against that secondary. I think if you can keep everything in front, quick game, screen action, like you said, I was going to mention that, bubble screen action, tunnel screen action, slants. You're going to see a lot of that with CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks.
I think something in this game you need to think about too, guys, is going on quick counts. There's a lot of you've got a lot of these guys that are kind of big time rushers, and what do big time rushers do? You let them get in that track stance and then they get going. There's a lot of standing around with this crew too. You get Smith and those and they'll kind of look around. Garrett will look around a little bit, and then they'll get in their stance and get ready to go. If you're ready, go snap the ball. And that's what the 49ers did against them too. And what I'm interested in this game is I'm interested to see if Schwartz, what he did was he played with what we call a robber. And a robber when you get a two deep look, you could take one of the safeties and run him into the middle of the field and then overlap the second safety behind him. It took away San Francisco's crossing game. Yep. How many times we watch the 49ers and it's underneath, it's run, catch. Some of the things we saw with the Cowboys, Cooks on the inside route. I think that you might see some of that from Schwartz in this game. He might say, okay, I'm not going to let these inside breaking routes kill me in this game. And maybe he'll play you the same way he played San Francisco with that robber in the middle of the field. And maybe he'll take away Jake Ferguson's routes too. And, when all of a sudden you're thinking about maybe he's that up the seam, that's with they got a guy there and then a guy there behind him. That might be a little bit tight fit for Dak to have to make. You're going to have to probably win on the outside a little bit.
I was going to say, so you're telling me success on the boundary probably spells
I think
a little bit more offensive
I think so too. Just because if Schwartz is worried about your crossing game, and like I said, the Rams scrimmage, especially the first Rams scrimmage, there were several times where Dak and Cook were they found space in between. Cook was up in break and the corner couldn't stay with. Mm-hmm. We've seen with CD and stuff like that too, some in break and stuff in the middle of the field. The most of the middle of the field stuff though has been Ferguson, I believe, is what we see. So they could try and take away the middle of the field and make you try and win on the outside and see if you're good enough to beat Ward or Emerson in that regard.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this is not the case, but we got to keep in mind, too, that Dak, he is a mobile quarterback, and he can get out of the pocket and run. You don't want him to be under pressure, but we also know that he does have that ability. And you talk about all the misdirection and all of that, and I hope that oh my God, I am blanking out on names today. Gee,
Jake Ferguson?
No, Mike McCarthy. I'm like, what's his name? I don't know what's going on today with me.
Fish oil.
This, right?
Oh, Lord.
Fish oil.
Martin McCarthy.
No, but I'm going back to the word of creativity and using misdirection and really getting creative and using all these different weapons. We haven't mentioned a whole lot about Kevonta Turpin, but he's another guy that they can really, really utilize him and be creative with a guy like him that has shown to have the speed. And this, like you said earlier, and we all watched it at training camp, best training camp he's had so far. So again, they have the weapons, and with Tyler Guyton, when you mentioned the penalties, that's another thing that's hopefully doesn't become a problem, because I think when you're a rookie starting your first game and you're constantly getting beat, let's say, or battling like that, I think that discipline can go out of the window where you're just trying to keep up and survive. So that's another thing that I hope it doesn't become an issue. We've known penalties have been an issue for the Cowboys in the past, but we'll see. They do, I believe they still do have plenty of other weapons that they can survive and win this game with.
I'll say this. I think we've talked about all these different passing options: Jake Ferguson, Kevonta Turpin, Brandon Cooks, CeeDee Lamb. How do you get these guys involved? Which one is the guy that can kind of be the game breaker for you, quote unquote? If only you had a running game. Because I think if you had a confident running game going into this game, you'd be like, all right, Ezekiel Elliott, 18 carries. As long as he can get to 85, 90 yards, you're good. I don't think anyone believes that. And so if the coaching staff has been super confident in the running game, they've praised that throughout the offseason. We're going to see how confident that they actually are, depending on how many times they put the ball into Ezekiel Elliott's hands, into Rico Dowdle's hands. Do those guys come out on the other side with 25-plus carries?
Since I won't be here tomorrow, spoiler, I actually think this game's going to be won on the ground for Dallas. I think we're going to see tomorrow.
It has to be.
I think what we're going to see tomorrow, what we're going to see Sunday is Rico Dowdle is going to be used in a way where he is going to have some success in the run game, and it's gonna at least for 1 week make us all really rethink how big of a problem is the running back position. Because as I said, and I'll keep maintaining, the issue with Rico Dowdle is not his ability, it's his availability. He's available right now. I think they're going to have success in the run game, especially as you talked about. Those interior linemen are gone that are not right now on the injury list for Cleveland. I think that's going to be the target for Dallas is, can we use these power guys we got in the middle of our offensive line to push this line and to just gut them, gut their defense. That negates Myles Garrett. It negates those cornerbacks out there. It actually, when you start looking at a match from a matchup standpoint, it is the best way for Dallas to attack them. Question is, can they do it? And I think if everything lines up, especially if those guys are out, I think it becomes a natural fit, and I think Dallas is gonna have some success running the ball.
This first drive of the game is going to tell us a lot about the confidence that they have in that running game. If they come out and they lean on that running game in that opening drive, that tells us, okay, they believe in that confidence. But if they come out and they're throwing out a shotgun first 4 out of the first 6 plays, then maybe there's not as much confidence in that running game as everyone believes.
Let me ask you this, guys. If all of a sudden would they're confident in the running game, if all of a sudden they break the huddle and Rico Dowdle's the starter.
Yeah.
Is that confidence in the running game?
I think so.
Or I would say so too. I'd say they're serious about, okay, we're going to try and run the ball today. This is our best chance to run the ball with a guy that we think can do it.
Yeah.
And nothing against Zeke and all, but if they use Zeke in short yardage and blitz pickup stuff and, that awareness catching the football, some occasional screen or two, whatever. Yeah. But if they run out there and all of a sudden Rico Dowdle's the starter and they're serious about running the ball then.
I would be happy about it.
I will tell you this. I'm not so concerned about who gets that first snap and is a starter as much as I am by the time we're done with the game and we look at the stat sheet, I need to see Rico Dowdle as the running back that had the most carries.
Yeah.
That's what matters more to me. And if they want to, because Zeke is the veteran that he is, they want to have him as the starter. If he's the leader of that room and they want to have, great, go for it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think Rico Dowdle is the guy that's going to give you the most juice of the guys you have available to you, and I think that means he should have the most carries.
And real quick, if I can finish this up, there was talk about if you look at the metrics with the Browns, how they play better defense at home than they do on the road. And I was just curious. They played, San Francisco, really good offense. Jacksonville, they got skilled people. They played the Bears, the Jets, the Cardinals, and Tennessee with their division games. That's 4 games. That's 4 offenses right there. Chicago, Jets, Arizona, and Tennessee that are all offensively challenged.
Yeah.
So to me,
some of those numbers.
Sometimes you say, wow, they're really good at home, and you're like, they played crap offenses.
Yeah. Yep, makes a difference.
Sometimes, like I said, I was watching the Arizona game. Arizona, I lost track of how many pressures and sacks they gave up. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you play teams that are just awful.
And even San Francisco didn't have Debo in that game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, we're going to take our final break. We'll come back. I got a little bit of better, worse, same we're going to do here in this final segment. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T connecting changes
everything.
There you go.
Wow, so dramatic.
We should all know this by now. This line is connecting changes everything.
Y'all
That's
are
it.
professionals.
Yeah.
Wow,
See?
that's good. Nick, did you feel left out?
I'm just gonna let it happen.
Just gonna let it happen.
We should start
Embrace the moment.
AT&T connecting and just go around the room and just do it like that.
That would be good. That would
Next
be good.
time.
Let's do it. All right. Welcome back. It is the final segment of the break live from SWBC Mortgage
You're
Studios.
asking a lot of me.
At the Star.
Remember what I have to do.
We are presented by LG. It is the final segment of the show. So let's get into a little bit of. We started this game earlier in the week. Better, worse, same. Let's talk about a couple offensive positions that I want to hit here. The offensive tackle position. They lost Tyron Smith.
Yeah.
They added Tyler Guyton, and then obviously you have to consider Steele in his second year back from the injury. Where do you think they are? Are they better, worse, or same when it comes to the tackle position?
And just one caveat. I think we're pretty firm now in the sense that Austin Richards is at the tackle position.
Fair.
I can't say better or same when you lose a guy like Tyron Smith. I just can't. We'll see what Tyler Guyton brings to the field. He is a rookie. He's a first-round pick.
Well,
he's got all the
can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
Though?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want you to factor into that. If you're saying that about Tyron Smith, also factor in his how much you could rely on
availability.
him.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that as well. Put that in the conversation as well if you're going to mention that.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in the conversation as well and factor that in. I'm still going to say worse, just in the sense of when you lose a guy like Tyron Smith, even if it is only 10, 11 games that you get out of him every year, that's tough to match. That's a tough presence to be able to match. But I do have confidence in Tyler Guyton. I think he's going to get better as the season goes on. I think there's a lot to like about the guy, but I don't feel great about the depth behind him. And I think that's probably where my concerns lie the most. It would probably be Austin Richards stepping in at left tackle if Guyton were to go down with anything. And I think there's a lot of concern there. Now, Austin Richards did look pretty solid in the preseason, and you can tell that he's taken a step forward going into year two, but he still hasn't played in an NFL game. So the inexperience, the question marks on the depth chart, that's why I say worse.
I'm just hoping that Tyler Guyton has the same kind of day and year that Tyler Smith had when he had to go play tackle. We were all worried about that.
Yeah.
We were all terrified of that whole situation. And then it worked out to be just fine.
Yeah.
My hope. Right now, Nick hit it on the head. Right now, there's so much unknown of how that's going to work out. By week 4, we could say, better, you're better there. Or you could say, man, we're treading water right now until, we're gonna eventually get there. I'd say right now we're treading water until you understand. You hope you don't sink. But I'm saying that I would love to be in this game and have Tyron Smith playing.
Yeah.
I would. I really would. It would make me feel better about, okay, now you can maybe do some things, but nothing against Guyton. Guyton surprised me how well he's run blocked. That was something I didn't see. I don't know about you, Nick, watching Oklahoma tape. Mm-hmm. I think his run blocking has really been underrated, for where he's at right now. But I'm gonna say right now they're probably not as good.
Same. I would say worse in week 1, but I have the confidence that it will be a lot better as he, he gets along. Again, we got to give credit and the benefit of the doubt always, given the Cowboys' track record when drafting a first-round pick in an offensive line player in the first round. So I have the confidence that he will become that guy. But, I mean, there's no way you can say that ahead of week 1 into the game because you haven't seen it yet in the inexperience.
This could go.
And also, by the way, we got to make sure when the game happens, we got to give these guys some grace and always keep in mind that we cannot just kill them. Like, these are rookies, and it's gonna take some time to grow and develop. So it's crazy when you talk about having 3 or 4 rookies starting and playing in this game. We got to keep in mind that let's not be too crazy hard on them because they're still rookies.
Yeah, this could go a couple different ways real quick. I know you want to get to some other thoughts, but this could go like all of a sudden that Guyton handles him no problem at all. and all of a sudden you're like, wow, what an amazing
Steal.
game. Yeah, And then next week we're coming in here and going, I was Guyton all along. Yeah, he was better, clearly better. Or it could go like, it could get really, really ugly.
Yeah. And we're all looking at each other.
But then you go, well, it was Myles Garrett. It was Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
He has a chance to like really like send it that way, or just like I was talking about, tread water. I just hope he survives it, because it's going to be a 65 play, well, probably 60 play battle where he is going to every time probably have to just, he sees that 95, he's going to take a deep breath and here we go, you know, and you just hope he could have a great game, and then it could be that one play at the end of the game when you're talking about a 3-point game or something like that. And then it's an 8-yard sack, and now you're out of field goal range. Well, you're never out of field goal range with our kicker, but you know what I'm saying.
That lake wind, it's blowing in.
I mentioned 14 sacks. Guys caused 4 fumbles. Yeah. And you just don't want it to be having a great game, and then the one play, Myles Garrett shows you why he's Myles Garrett.
Look, my thing is I think they're the same. And the reason why I say they're the same, I absolutely agree Tyron Smith is a better player when healthy than any tackle the Cowboys have on their team. That's fair.
Was that something we could have said?
Yeah, I said better, worse, same.
Oh,
and the reason why I say same.
God, I need to. What's
Pay
the medicine?
attention, Brian.
Well, you
please.
need the smart medicine. What the hearing medicine?
The same. Here's why I say same. No, here's why I say same is because I believe.
Wait, hold on. You just called me dumb, by the way. You said you need the smart medicine. No, because I'm kind of slow today. My brain is processing things slow today. But hold on, Brian. I am no dumb. Hold on, okay? 4.0 GPA. I speak 3 languages with an accent, though.
Smart is not a problem for you.
Hey, I'll battle anybody in smartness.
I was surprised you let that slide. I was like,
no, actually, I was trying to move on real quick.
He tried to stop me right
good
there.
Coach, good
I was
coach.
trying to move on quick. Anyway, smart. I mean, not smart. Not talking about smart. Same. The reason why I said same is because there are questions about the availability. You still have questions. They're just different questions this year. I think we all have seen things that make us believe that Tyler Guyton can be a really good player. We just haven't seen it in a real game against arguably the best or one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. So there are questions. In the same way, there were questions about Tyron Smith. Even in a week 1 situation, like we don't know if he gets through training camp. We don't know if he's ready to play by week 1. So for me, and I've said this, I've been saying this really for the last 3 or 4 years, I like the consistency of knowing my guy's going to be there.
Yeah.
And I was willing to tear the Band-Aid off years ago. And even though Tyron Smith is still a really great player, I just wanted the consistency. Yeah. And so for me, I look at now I have the consistency. Now the question is, do I have the player?
Yeah.
I think I've seen shades of that. I don't know. That'll have to be confirmed over this season and maybe even longer. But I think right now there's still questions, and that's why I would say the same.
Ambar did say something smart about the
Don't No.
You did the plug and play.
What said is said. It's on record.
Plug and play. The plug and play that they draft guys in the first round and they tend to do well.
And if you want to give them if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt,
the tricky part with this year, the tricky part with this year is because it is such a critical year for so many people and the Cowboys and the coaching staff and so many other guys. What could be a decent year for a guy like him could not be good enough for what the team overall needs for this specific year. So that's what sucks about it, is that a lot of these guys are going to be feeling the pressure of trying to really overperform or bring it to another level that typically would be fine, but because of the intensity of what's needed this year, it might not be enough.
Well, we'll hope that they all stay rooted and they do their jobs, and we'll see what
I
happens.
learned something about rooted in Australia.
Should I ask?
Don't ask.
No, not at all.
Okay, I'm going to leave that alone.
In the Australian culture, it's something we'll tell you after the show.
Let me just say,
let's not put
Australians
it
are
on
having
here.
a field day with this.
Are they?
They are having a field day with this. But
Okay.
anyway.
All right. Anyway, we're going to move
Google's
on.
free.
We appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back, or they will be back tomorrow. I'll be off. I'm going to see you guys on Sunday.
Hook 'em.
But hook 'em. Let's get it.
But what's the prediction there?
Oh, they will win by 13.
13,
Texas
11.
beats Michigan on the road at their place by 13, at least by 13. Because this is, I think Texas is well suited to go up there and play this team.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they're a better team. All right, but we'll see. Hopefully Monday I'm not sitting here very, very sad.
0-2.
Very, very sad. But we'll see how it goes. Till then, for Nick Harris, Brian Broaddus, Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!